Do you suppose there is such a place, Toto? There must be. It's not a place you can get to by a boat or a train. It's far, far away. Behind the moon, beyond the rain.
You're a wizard, Harry.
If I take one more step, it'll be the farthest away from home I've ever been.
Way up high, and the dreams that you dream of once in a lullaby.
Do or do not. There is no try.
Open the pod bay doors, Cal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that. I love you, Margie. I love you, Marin.
Won't you take me with you?
Why, of course I will.
Hooray! We're off to see a wizard.
Oh, well, you're not starting out very well.
Oh, I'll try. Really, I will.
To Oz?
To Oz.
Welcome, everybody, to One Life's production roadmap to the hero's journey. This is our first episode in an 8-part series that's going to get underway right now. To start us off, Dr. Bill Janeshak is going to explain to us our first step in the episode. Welcome.
Thanks, Frank. I really appreciate that. So the first question I'll always get is, what exactly is the hero's journey and why should that be important to me? And the reason that we're here today and we're putting this all together is because you've already been through the hero's journey. And if you've noticed all those clips of those movies or the stories that really resonate with you, the ones that kind of stick with you in your heart and your mind and everything, they've all taken, if you break them down, the same steps in the hero's journey. So if you're going through something now, or if you've been through something and you've just reached new levels of your life, if you stop and think about it and you broke down the system of how you've created that, you'll have the essence of the hero's journey. So where did this come from and how does this work? Well, Joseph Campbell was an archaeologist and a mythologist and a researcher, and he studied all the cultures throughout time and throughout different eras, and he's found a universal pattern that all heroes or all archetypes have taken to succeed and transform. And this goes for everything from Moses to Jesus to Buddha to Dorothy from Wizard of Oz to Rocky to Luke Skywalker and Katniss Everdeen, and the list goes on and on. there's a series that you'll take, and there's a reason why these resonate with you, is because these are the steps that you can take. But let me ask you a better question, and why we're really here. What if you have a dream and something that you've been trying to get to, and you have to succeed because there's some burning desire inside of you, and you've tried something and it's failed, and you've reached over here and you just quite couldn't get it. But what if there was a map, and on that map it says, when you get to this point, you're going to experience something like this, and if you push a little harder, that you can get through, and then on the next step, there's another adventure that you're going to have on, or another elevation, and goes on and on. So if you were on a trip and you knew that the signs coming along is telling you that you're exactly on the right track, would you be more likely to go, or less likely? Would you turn around and stop just because it got hard? Like I said, if I was driving from here to the other side of the country, and I said, you're going to come to a point where there's going to be some rocks in there, or you're going to have to go through some mountains, rather than getting to the mountains and stopping, that I'd go, oh, well, this is on the map. It's going to suck for a little while, but if I get through this, then it's all downhill, and then I can come to the next valley. That's exactly what the hero's journey is. So if you have a dream, a goal, or if something is thrust upon you where you just have to step up your game, and if you had a map, you would be more likely to get exactly what you want, exactly how you want. And that's why we're here today. So we're going to take those steps in the hero's journey in these next 8 episodes that we're going to get together. And we're going to delve deep into these things and break them down so that you can recognize your hero's journey. Where are you at? You can map yourself out. We're going to have the guests on here, and they're going to share their version. And when you start to hear that other people have gone through this just like you are, that you can use them for inspiration, guidance, and know that you can keep on going. So if there's a goal that you have in mind, there's a process that you need to get through, there's something where you want to elevate your game, this is the place you want to be. And we want to invite you to stay here. Invite your friends, invite everybody that you want, because this is something that's universal. It's good for everybody. So I'm Dr. Bill Janeshak. I'm going to jump over to my office, and I can't wait for the next guest. And I'm excited to hear what your hero's journey is going to be like by the end of this. Thanks.
Thanks, Bill. I appreciate this. Now, this is a passion project of Bill's that, me and Frank had to get thrown into. And then we said, let's jump in full bore, because the benefit of this, if it's done right, and that's what we're doing, is to give you every step, but help you recognize in your own life where you're at on this hero's journey. So I am going to be bringing up our guest. Now, our guest speaker for today to kick it off is, the heavy hitter, the one that we all love, adore, and appreciate for taking her time out for the day. Her name is Sharon Lechter. Okay, she is a keynote speaker and is a business strategist and mentor. She's an elite entrepreneur. She's a best-selling author. There's a lot of stuff, guys. Get ready. Best-selling author, philanthropist, business strategy mentor, a licensed CPA for 35 years, so she understands money. She's a mother, a grandmother, a lifelong education advocate, and the founder and CEO of Pay Your Family First, a financial education organization. Some of the things in detail. In 97, she co-authored the international bestseller Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Okay, and 14 other books in the Rich Dad series. Over 10 years as the CEO, she led Rich Dad company and brand into the international powerhouse that it is. In 2008, she was asked by the Napoleon Hill Foundation to help re-energize the messaging and the teachings of Napoleon Hill, just as the economy was taking that dip. Sharon released 3 best-selling books cooperating with the foundation: Think and Grow Rich, 3 Feet from Gold with our friend Greg Reed; Outwitting the Devil, by far my favorite book ever written; Think and Grow Rich for Women and Success and Something Greater. She also released Exit Rich and How Money Works. So I am truly pleased to invite One Life Productions friend and ally, Sharon Lechter, up on the stage. Sharon Lechter, welcome. Welcome. I'll put the rest of them up here too, so I'm just not hogging it all to say, yes, look, I got Sharon all to myself. Whoops. Let's go back here. This way. There we go. Sharon, thank you so much. You went through with us on the definition of what Bill's envisionment was and what we were doing. And so what we were looking for from you, okay, because you have accomplished so much, which just by reading all your accomplishments, we have to say she has been through some hero's journeys in her life, right? And
Absolutely.
so that would be my goal right now, is to say, can we get you to share one of the hero's journeys that you've gone through? And then Bill will articulate back and forth as we go through. We try to mute him a lot, but we'll try and make sure we have time. But Sharon, thank you so much for coming on board. I truly appreciate you.
It is my honor, Joe, and wonderful to be with you, Frank, and Bill as well. And I think that, what you're doing is incredible, because people, people learn through stories and communicate through your heart. And we look at somebody who's successful, the hero, and we think, it was easy for them to do it. And part of the journey is the fact that you get a few bumps and bruises along the way. And as Bill indicated, sometimes that you got to find the passion to get past it and to drive through it, because if you don't have the passion and the definite purpose, it's easy to quit. And like when you have that inner calling and that inner desire, since December of '92, I had the calling for financial education when my own son got into credit card debt. And there are days, when my brain says, just stop trying so hard, but I can't. It's just part of, it's ingrained in me. And it's like, it's an uphill battle trying to get education to accept and include financial education. But the journey starts when you're young. For me, it was, I didn't realize until I was in public accounting how incredible gift my parents had given me about learning about money growing up. We talked about assets at the table. We talked about cash flow. We talked about buying, building, creating assets, not just working for a dollar. And I didn't realize that everybody didn't have that education. And as my career continued, I started recognizing that I knew things that other people could help. And when I started public accounting, I learned a lot about how companies were successful, but I probably learned more about how companies failed. And so I applied that in my own businesses as we grew the world's biggest first talking book company. And then in building Rich Dad, understanding the elements of taking the complex subject of money, that's in a very emotional subject, and communicating in a way that is user-friendly, that people could understand, through telling stories, through showing examples. But we got hit in the face with lots of naysayers. They didn't like the fact that we were thinking about assets, not being an employee. And there's nothing wrong with being an employee. The issue is what's up here, our minds. We've all been trained to have this scarcity mindset, work for money. Don't pinch your pennies, save for a rainy day. And I'm flying in the face of that, and I get a lot of pushback. In Rich Dad Poor Dad, we said your house is not an asset. Oh, that created a few bubbles, but it was to trigger somebody to open their mind to something different. Your house may appreciate over time, but it's not giving you cash flow. It's costing you money every month. And that was the element of investing, is understanding assets put money in your pocket, liabilities take money out of your pocket. And so I'm not quite sure. I just can't stop doing it. It's like you constantly get somebody that wants to push back on you and say, leave me alone. I want to do it my way. And that's fine, because we are all in charge of our own life. But that stinking thinking that we have is something that is from birth, how we're raised. And until we recognize it and can release it, we can't start adopting an abundance mindset, because even if you become successful, you're going to be afraid you're going to lose it, because that thought process is deep in your subconscious. And so my journey is giving people the opportunity to see there's a different way of thinking, opportunity to see that they don't have to be me. They don't have to be you. We live in a world where everybody feels like they're not good enough. They need to try and be like someone else. No, we are all created uniquely to be us. I don't want to change anybody, but I want them to be able to give them the opportunity to see a better path, a way for them to create financial independence. Because when it comes to money, you're either in control of your money or it's in control of you. And I bumped up against a lot of people not liking the fact that we were trying to shake things up. And then when I left Rich Dad, it was like, okay, what's next? How can I go from here? I just built the world's largest personal finance brand. That was one of those extraordinary events for me is, okay, I've dedicated my life to this. Now, how am I going to do it? And the universe responded with the phone call from President Bush. I was able to work on the President's Advisory Council for President Bush and President Obama. That came from up there. And it gave me the opportunity to work at a higher level. And then to get the call from the Napoleon Hill Foundation asking me to step in and revitalize his teachings during the economic crash of 2008. I would never have had those calls had I still been at Rich Dad. So I tell people, sometimes you have to close a door for other doors to open for you. And people are resistant. They hang on to what they have instead of reaching for what they can have. And so that's, my message is to say, sometimes you have to close the door for other doors to open. But by being on the President's Advisory Council, it elevated my authority. By being stepping into the world's largest personal development brand, that gave me back my confidence. And so I knew that I had a platform that I could continue impacting millions of people. My goal I had never had being a celebrity or being a speaker as on my vision board. That was never my goal. But that is what has happened to help me accomplish my goal to elevate the financial well-being of humanity. So
if I can jump in on this, Sharon. Sorry to jump in, but I just want to point out that she ended at Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which would have just about crushed most people to say this part of my life. And she says it's so nonchalant, right? And this is one of the things I want to point out. When you get through the hero's journey and you're back in the ordinary world as the elevated version of yourself, when you recap it, you realize that, yeah, it may have been all chaotic and, torment during that time, but you look backwards and you see, oh yeah, and this happened. Right? She says, I got to the end and then this happened. The president called.
Right? Yeah, he calls every day.
Yeah. I mean, I was like, oh yeah, the red phone in my office rang and it was the president. Yes. No, but again, and I'm hoping everybody hears this. What level are you playing at? Because what Sharon's explaining to you is that with her desire to level up, right? She hit an elevator, didn't have to take the stairs because she put so much effort into what she was doing. And again, followed the calling that she got. So sorry to interrupt. I was just like,
let me jump in real quick because Sharon drops gold whenever she gets, it's hard to catch up with everything. I'm just going, this is great. One of my favorite things that you'd mentioned was, the hardest thing in the world is to be us. So the people listening, that it is hard because we all have these little journeys going over. And sometimes, in all times, it's the transformation that you're going through, just trying to be yourself without the world pushing you down. And you're just like a great example, like Joe said, you're running through this and you kind of build momentum. Like I said, I'm blown away.
Well, sometimes that momentum comes to a screeching halt. I mean, I was at the top of my game and I lost my youngest son. And I tell people I went into neutral. It was like I was in numb land, all right? So I'd always played a really big game. And then all of a sudden I was playing really small. And I was like, for a couple of years, just not having too much fun in life. I had a lot of lows, not very many highs. And even, seriously considered retiring. But that inner thing right inside of me was saying, you can't, what else, what are you going to do? I was raised by a father that would ask me every night, Sharon, have you added value to somebody's life today? And that's still, is a driving force in me. And so when I thought about retiring, I got a pushback from my family and friends, but I also heard my son in my ear saying, get over it, Mom. There's more for you to do. You're still here for a reason. And that's what the message that I'm sharing today. Because of COVID, so many people have been stopped in their tracks because of a death, a divorce, a financial setback, an illness. But I want you to hear me. You're still here for a reason. There's more for you to do. So we all have messes that hold us up, stop us, become boundaries, but turn those obstacles into opportunities. Turn that mess into your message, because when you have that message, you're going to be somebody else's miracle. And that's so important. That's the hero's journey, is to understand that success is not a straight line. You get bumps and bruises, and sometimes you put yourself in reverse and you have to say, okay, I got to figure it out. But I'm still pointed in the right direction. I tell people, people keep saying I had to pivot. Don't pivot if you know what your goal is. It's like if you want to sail to Catalina from Long Beach, you don't change your destination, but you have to recalibrate if the wind changes. And so adjust what you're doing, but know that your passion, your ultimate purpose is still there. You just may need to change the tactics to get there.
Awesome. That's
brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely.
I got goosebumps when she was talking. So I purposely put my hands down going, don't lift up your arms. It is.
One of the things that hit me, Sharon, when you were talking was kind of that feeling of being comfortably numb. And for years, you mentioned that's in there. And I think a lot of times people feel like maybe you've missed your window, right? Or or you went from, in your original story, you're talking about I went from A to B, but sometimes there's a gap in between that that's in there. What is the deciding factor, or what was it for you that decided that you were going to stop being numb and move with your son's voice in there? Was there something that finally nudged you to the point where you're like, okay, now I'm going to go forward? Or did you just feel strong enough at that point to then take on a new challenge?
That's a great question, Frank. Nobody's ever asked me that. I think when I thought about retiring, I put myself into that imagination of not working. And it was frightening because I hear my dad's voice, have you added value to someone's life today? And I was still, young enough that it was like, okay, what else am I going to do? Right? This is my calling. And it was a wake up call. And I decided to play big again, because I knew if I'm going to do it, I want to do it in a way that I impact as many people. I started a Facebook group called the Play Big Movement, private Facebook group, because I wanted other people to see what I was doing so they could do it too. And so it's about people who want to be number one in their field and live their legacy. Too many people think about legacy as after you're gone. Your legacy is created every single day with every heart you touch. That is the hero's journey. You're touching hearts every single day, and then to create maximum impact. So that is, in essence, my message to everybody watching and listening to this. You deserve to play a bigger game, to be number one in your field, to live your legacy, and to create maximum impact. If you are going to get out of bed and go to work, why play small? Play big. And yes, you might go down a few wrong paths, but you're going to meet people along the way. You're going to have experience. It's going to give you more depth of understanding. When you get on the right path, you'll be able to go even quicker.
That's it. Killing bears, not rabbits.
Amazing.
Thank you, Sharon.
And it was a good question, Frank. I like that.
It was a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
hard to with them every once in a while.
Yeah.
I texted it to him because he was sitting there. And I'm like, oh, here, Frank, ask her this question.
I do want to add something though, because Frank, you at the beginning of your question, you talked about life is passing me by. I tell people this all the time, is because I'm going to turn 70 in January, so I share this. It's you're never too old. When I get mad about something, I start a new company. It's kind of a crazy thing I do, but successful businesses solve problems and serve needs. We got a lot of problems. We got a lot of needs, and there's a survey I share that showed that your mental capacity is the strongest between 50 and 90. I like that because that tells me I still got a few years to go. And, I have people in the audience, if you're willing to admit you're over 50, stand up. And I have all the youngsters in the room, give them a round of applause. And then I tell those youngsters the best is yet to come. And so you're never too old to start contributing, to start doing something. But when you step out of life and think you need to retire, you start going backwards. And I don't ever want to go backwards. I want to go forwards. And it's something that every single day, if you do something to add value to other people's lives, you will be enriched.
Well, I have a question for you, Sharon, because it sounds like your dad was amazing mindset, probably way before his time, just by the way that you were raised. But in the context of the hero's journey, like, what was one of the big transformational things where you came back with, like, that changed or elevated your way of thinking? I mean, do you remember the first time when you went, oh, here's my next level? You've done so much.
Well, there's probably half a dozen of those times, but I'll start with the fact that I was embarrassed by my family. I was embarrassed where we lived. We lived in a little tiny house between my mom's beauty shop and my dad's used car lot. We had rental properties that I had to scrub out the bathrooms between tenants. So I say I've been in real estate investing since I was 10. My friends, their parents were CEOs and military officers. So I was embarrassed by my circumstances thinking, and so I wanted to be them. I wanted to be the certified professional, right? Sophisticated professional. And so I was first generation to go to college. I was the only woman in my accounting classes. I was one of the very first women in public accounting, rising star, having a great time in a career where I was an employee. And at the ripe old age of 25, I looked around and said, holy cow, now I get it. Now my parents started looking a whole lot smarter because they were in control of their lives. They were in control of their destiny. I was not. I was not in control of anything. And so it was that moment of getting a call from one of my clients inviting me to join him in a company where I literally, back then it was before cell phones and PCs, I know dinosaur times, but the old yellow legal pad, I did pros and cons of staying or leaving CPA practice. And I could argue either side because, change is hard for people. But my hand wrote off across the top of the page, why not? And that is still my mantra today. Why not do something different? Why not take that road less traveled? Why not be the one that solves a problem and serves a need? Don't go with the lemmings. Don't go with everybody else. Establish your own path, your own routine. And that was a triggering moment for me. Now, that decision to leave at that point was probably the worst business decision of my life. But had I not made that, I wouldn't have met Michael Lechter. And we just celebrated 43 years of marriage. So Napoleon Hill says, out of every adversity comes a seed of an equal greater benefit. My worst business decision gave me my best life decision. So, but that was truly the moment in my life that I never looked back from a standpoint of understanding that I'm not a good employee. I need to be in control of my life, and I need to be in control of, helping other people find the pathway that is right for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's awesome. I can't think of a better way that we've kicked off this whole project that we've gone. And like Joe said, that this is a passion project of mine. I delve into this all the time, and to have this vision in my head and getting my brothers involved and having you start this off is amazing. So what I want you guys listening or watching, however you're digesting this information, I want you guys just like look at Sharon's life, what she's done, how she's gotten there. And she's just like you at one time. You can do it. She's taken the path, she's taken the hits, and she's followed the path. And this is what you get. You get an amazing lady that is living her legacy. And I appreciate, I've heard you speak lots, and you always amaze me, and I'm always taking notes and everything every time you talk. So I really appreciate you starting us off here. This is great.
Yeah, it definitely set the tone for the episode.
I'm honored. Thank you guys so much for inviting me to participate. And it is. We talk about a hero's journey, but everyone is a hero. The question is, are you going to stand up and accept it and live the role that was provided for you? We have a lot of people that go to their grave and there's gifts that were waiting for them that they never opened. And so, there's a path out there for you to create the destiny that you deserve, the success that you deserve. And too many of us keep looking at everybody else, but look forward and choose the path that's right for you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. That's a great way to
mic drop. Thank
you.
Yeah, perfect. Well, I'm glad that Frank's the one that has to follow this, not me. with the let's talk about the next episode one. So let's switch things around a little bit here. Frank, go ahead.
Yeah, there's no pressure. This is an easy follow every single time with the trail of gold that Sharon left behind there. But I want to invite everybody to join us on our after party. And the link is at heroesjourneylive.com. And also, if you want to learn more about Sharon or any of our future guests that we have on there, please go to heroesjourneylive.com. Check out the links in there and get some more information. Please make sure you follow Sharon. As you can see, she was our choice to start off this journey because we knew that she would knock it out of the park, and she did an amazing job. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us. Join us on our Zoom for the after party. And as always,